So, Kevin, how about you just get us started with how pleased with and proud of Devin you are after specifically NCAA cross, and you can kind of get into track stuff too if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I think Devin had a fantastic race at NCAA cross country, which in and of itself was really impressive. I think when you put it in context of everything that he had to kind of do in the month leading into that race, it makes it even more impressive with just how much racing was kind of on the cards for him. Between our indoor meets, the Big Ten championships, our cross country meet, trying to qualify for nationals, and then 2 national championships in 3 days. It's a workload that I don't know that anybody else in the country had, and to finish it off with his a second consecutive cross country All-American performance is more than impressive.
All right, I will open it up to questions here. So whoever would like to ask the first question, go ahead.
I'll jump in if you don't mind, Connor. First of all, Kevin, congratulations. Good to see you again. Congrats on your team's success over the years since you took over, and obviously, in 2019, which seems like years ago right now, considering we're doing 2021 and 20 and all that stuff right now. So, but yeah, to get your thoughts on Devin, his consistent success at both cross-country nationals and then recently, at indoor nationals. And like you mentioned, for him and you as a coach, the adjustments you guys had to make, just that kind of, racing, recovery, racing again. Talk about how you guys approach that from not only a physical standpoint of recovering, but also mentally, just, kind of getting ready for back-to-back situations like that, back-to-back pretty hard situations.
I think like it got to a point where once we got to the Big Ten indoor championships, then everything beyond that became more about recovery than about training. Right. It was like the races themselves became the workouts for the next race. Mm-hmm. And so we spent more time just really trying to make sure that what we did in between was focused on making sure that he was going into the next event feeling at least, as refreshed as we could. It didn't mean that we didn't train or during that period. It was just more a matter of like, let's make sure that the sessions we do are, really, moderate in intensity, because the racing was going to be so intense. And then just having to trust that, hey, we put in all the work leading into the Big Ten indoor meet, and now we got to we're gonna basically carry that training the next 3 weeks with doing more maintenance work than actual workouts. But like I said, it's by being able to like kind of switch your mind and thinking as you head into a race, that the previous week's race also served as my hard workout for the week, or one of my hard workouts for the week. I think that was a way that we could kind of make sure that we kept it mentally fresh as well.
All right, good point.
Connor, you want to hop in here with the question?
Yeah. So congratulations first off on the success. Were you able to talk to Devin beforehand about his mindset going in? Obviously, with the shortness of the season and everything going on, I guess, can you describe what you saw in him going into that race?
Yeah, I think just the entire season there was and this is kind of just Devin in general. There's a pretty intense focus and determination on, he sets it. We go through a goal setting process early in the season and or just prior to the season, and then it's really about just kind of ticking the boxes along the way to make sure that we have him ready when he does line up to go. and I think, I think there were some moments early in the season where, the racing just felt comfortable to him, which I think started to build some more confidence in where his, what he could achieve. I think that carried us a long way. And then I think just as each week progressed, we started seeing kind of personal best after personal best. And each time you kind of chip away a little bit of that, then, you build a little bit more confidence going into an event. I think when it came to the indoor track and field championships, the national championships, that was a little bit of unexpected accomplishment to make that meet. It is so difficult to make the top 16 in the country that that almost becomes harder than, or more pressure filled, I should say, not harder, but more pressure filled than the actual race itself. So, I think he went to the line in that particular meet with a lot of calm. And then the conversations we had going into the cross country meet 3 days later were just, on a really challenging course, really understanding that there's nobody in the field that doesn't feel the distress that you might feel in the race. Everybody, in a challenging, grinding course, everybody is hurting, and it's the guys that understand that everybody is hurting that can be successful, and the ones that feel like I'm the only one that's in this moment of distress are the ones that kind of pack it in. And I think that carried him a long way in the race as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, you mentioned confidence there, and that kind of mental toughness toward that tough part of the race. So on Monday, and Kyle, you noted in your report from the race about, I think it was the ninth K, 8th, 9th K in there where he was pretty strong. How is Devin, as a mentally tough runner, and like you mentioned, that's the part of the race where a lot of people might be kind of mentally wondering, if they have the confidence to accomplish what they're trying to do. But talk about his toughness in that part of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a natural trait for Devin. I mean, if you look at his All-American performance from last year, very different conditions, but equally challenging in terms of last year it was, below freezing temperatures and sleet and, unbelievably just thick, muddy, sloppy course, where you're grinding the whole way. This was a different challenge in that it was dry, but it was, just no break from the hills in the course. So, different conditions, different, just kind of race footing, but same type of mental grind. So I think, having been through it before, I think that helped prep him for having been it before and been very successful, definitely gave him confidence. As we were running the course the day before, his comment to me was, I love that this is a hard course. Whereas, and for me, I was like, I'm trying to build him up from that, being like, yeah, I mean, this is a course that suits you, rather than being like, oh yeah, this is super hard. There were coaches out there that were, publicly just talking about how challenging and difficult the course was. And I'm like, your athletes start to hear that. And the ones that aren't going to be, the ones that maybe are a little bit more mentally fragile are going to crumble under that. And so for me, it's like, you make sure that your athlete relishes that challenge. But I wasn't trying to overplay the difficulty of the course either.
Right. Yeah, especially coming off a race that he did on Saturday, and like, oh, can I come back?
Yeah, exactly.
Am I going to be able to do this? So
yeah.
I guess if I can cut in, what did you say to him after the finish? Were you able to talk to him right after? I know with COVID protocols and things, they might.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a couple of minutes to get to him, just the way the kind of shoot and everything is there. You know, there wasn't a lot of talk initially. To be honest, it was you know, I think his first comments were how exhausted he was, and he did ask me multiple times, kind of, you know, are you okay? You know, am I okay with that performance? Which I thought was interesting. You know, just I didn't feel like I really needed to, you know, reaffirm how great a performance it was. But I'm not exactly sure. You know, we never really talked about, you know, why he asked, but he did ask the question multiple times. But it was just kind of more just reassuring him, like that was as much or more than I could have asked for on the day. You know, especially given, you know, he'd only raced, you know, 2 days prior to that as well.
I'll hop in here with the question. You mentioned his stretch of racing up into the cross country championships. Have you, in your time as a coach or an athlete, have you seen a stretch of racing and running that's as impressive as what Devin pulled off the past month?
No, I mean, I think you can. I mean, I'm sure I could go back a way. I mean, if you talk to like kind of old school coaches, and even, you know, I can look back at, you know, my times in college, and it was different, where we raced all the time. It wasn't uncommon to race 4 cross country races in 4 consecutive weeks, and then take a week off and go into the championship season. I mean, we just did it that way. So, I mean, I think the old school purists will be like, oh yeah, we did this all the time. You know, but it's not the way most coaches approach, you know, planning a season anymore. You know, it's very much, you know, doing larger training blocks and hitting, you know, 1 or 2 really high quality races, and then going back into a training block. And you know, and so this was definitely a more unique challenge for the day and age that we're in right now, and what you would maybe consider kind of, you know, best practices in setting up a training and racing plan. But we weren't left with a choice. So we either had to, you know, embrace it and find a way to make it work, or, you know, or pick and choose, you know, prioritize indoors over cross country, or cross country over indoors. And we both felt like that wasn't a very good option. We felt that, you know, that wasn't fair to either the rest of our track team or the cross country team if we did either one of those things. So we made the decision to try and make the best out of trying to combine the two. And so to answer your question, no, I don't know that I've seen anybody really string together, you know, performances like that, like consistently good performances, week after week, and, you know, and finishing the way he did.
Dave, Connor, do you have any more questions for Coach Sullivan here?
For me, Kevin, I was just going to mention, for you personally, obviously the last year has been kind of crazy. What adjustments have you had to make? You know, personally, from a coaching standpoint, since it is so crazy, you just, like you just mentioned earlier, you're going back to your older days of just, you know, racing all the time and just constant craziness of workouts and races, and just, you know, more focus on the mental aspect of getting people ready, or just kind of how have you handled things differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a constant, you know, basically being ready to adapt. And that's, you know, because this wasn't the way we had planned things even initially. Like, we knew we were going to combine cross country and indoors, but, you know, we had a plan set out where we felt we had things spaced out well enough that was going to allow for us to train and recover and have high quality races. And then, you know, MDHSS shut us down for, you know, those 2 weeks, and that threw everything into, you know, by that shutdown forced us to miss the Big Ten championships, and then we were in kind of scramble mode at that point to try and, the goal to get the team qualified for nationals, which then necessitated us, cramming a whole bunch of racing into a very short time frame. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. I think more of the mental challenge was just keeping everybody in a good frame of mind when the shutdowns came, reminding them guys that, we had to continue to stay motivated during a 2-week period where they couldn't have access into facilities and the weather turned on us, where I couldn't actually be out coaching guys. The team couldn't train in groups of more than 1 or 2 people. I mean, there was a lot of challenges thrown at us, and we just, not only Devin, but the team in general just, really took it on themselves to make sure that they got the work in that they needed to get done in order to be able to have the performances that, Devin had, but also the rest of our team had as we were leading into the conference championships.
All right. Anything else for Dave or Connor here?
All set.
All good, Kyle.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kevin, for your time, and congratulations again, and best of luck for the outdoor season, which we now have a firm date on finally. So
yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Thanks, guys.